Whew. I'm gonna get sorry, I'm moving my mic already. I might be a lot quieter than usual, which is already really quiet. I'm gonna try and turn my mic up. Let's see, can I turn my mic up? I don't know. It says it's all the way over, but maybe I can turn it up higher. I don't know how to though. Let's see. Let's go up. Is it higher now? I don't know. Maybe this is good. I'm gonna share the link on Discord real quick. So yeah, give me a second. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, I'm gonna be a lot quieter. Yeah, I already said that, but just gonna say it again because people probably weren't in yet. So maybe some people are in now. I'm just sharing the stream on Discord real quick. I'm not gonna be doing a group thing, Rosa. All right. Let's see. There we go. Sent out the I'm live notification. Oh, hello, sea creature. Hello, what looks love. How's it going? I will listen to you in the background. Sounds good. I'm going to be reacting to some stuff. So, yeah. Don't know if y'all were in here when I was talking about how I'm sick, so I'm gonna be quiet. But yes, I'm sick, and I'm probably going to be quieter than usual, and my voice might sound not the best. Hi Losh, how's it going? Alright, I'm gonna start watching some videos now, and I'm gonna close Discord, so yeah. How to turn off preview on here.
I don't know if you've noticed recently, but a lot of erstwhile left-wing and or progressive heroes have been getting cancelled, which is the obnoxious online way of saying
let me know if it's too loud or too quiet.
But a lot of erstwhile left-wing and or progressive heroes have been getting cancelled, which is the obnoxious online way of saying receiving justified criticism and using their platforms to share and or platform pretty terrible views and or people. Recently, Destiny, formerly a darling of the left, because of his frankly masterful way of tearing down far-right figures, started going off the rails earlier this year.
Hold on, I'm gonna up the speed a little bit. I'm gonna turn this on and up the speed. Let's look at the 1.5.
Becoming increasingly unhinged, both in debates with leftists and on Twitter, where he admits
okay. I don't wanna have it so I have to be paying super close attention, so I don't have to miss a word. So I'm not
throwing racial slurs around like confetti in his personal life.
I don't care about logs and me saying the N-word or whatever. I say the N-word all the fucking time in fucking fuck, I don't give a fuck about
shit. No, I'm gonna get DMCA'd. What the hell, dude?
I'll admit that. I leak my own likes like that.
And refer to several black women as subhuman. There was originally a whole section in this video about Destiny, but when I came...
I don't remember the subhuman drama. Wait, who do you call subhuman?
I don't like that.
And refer to several...
I don't know who Angie Speaks is. So I don't know who he called subhuman. But I guess Angie Speaks.
Black women as subhuman. There was originally a whole section in this video about Destiny, but when I came around to finalising the script, his Twitter was suspended for what could be any number of reasons. Possibly most prominent, the dogpiling he encouraged against the person who shared the aforementioned video, in which he admits to throwing racial slurs around all the time in his personal life. But Destiny is not the only one to have let his more progressive fans down, as we'll now discuss. Before we do, however, I thought I should probably make something very clear. Whilst I am criticising these people, I'm not calling for them to be hounded off Twitter or whatever, or to be harassed or dogpiled or anything like that. Not that this video, with its extremely limited reach, will be able to do that anyway, but merely to make 2 points. One, that maybe we on the left shouldn't have heroes anymore.
This was about 24 Twitter accounts ago. Who, wait, It was? I thought this came out like 2 weeks ago. Or no, wait, when did it? I don't know.
We should believe.
Why can't I have mod? Right now I'm on my phone, so I can't give you. Oh wait. Oh yeah, I can. Here, I'll give you mod. All right, there you go. I somewhat remember the Subhuman controversy. I think, yeah, he did. A Willix Love. It was apparently Angie Speaks. I don't know who that is, but yeah, I guess it happened.
Believe in the collective, in a plurality of comrades rather than a fallible set of leaders. Whilst, yes, we can have figureheads and people to look up to, we shouldn't put these people on a pedestal or act like they're infallible. We should hold them to a high moral standard and absolutely not treat them as heroes, because they're not, too.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Destiny's probably been banned a lot on Twitter. Pump. I think how many times did he get banned on Twitch? I think he got banned recently. I'm not sure. Oh well, it was a black person. It wasn't a trans person. I don't think. Well, actually, I don't know. They didn't specify, but it was a black person. I know that for sure.
People make mistakes. That's absolutely true, and I'm not calling for anyone to lose their job or livelihood over a decision made in error or an opinion they no longer hold. What I am asking for is accountability.
Yeah. See, so far, like, I'm pretty sure that me and what's his name again, Box to Sheep, are gonna like agree completely just based on the 2 points he has already. Like well, I mean, I don't really care about the hero point too much, but on the second point, like I feel like every one talking about like woke scolds and still dragging out the woke scolds thing is like really just stretching it. Like literally no one's like really I've seen very few people try to cancel Contra, Vosh, or Pig. It's not a lot of people. It's a few. There's an amount, but it's not like substantial. And the rest of the people that they like try to group in with them, I feel like you're just trying to hold them accountable. Again, I'm not like throwing shots at them. I just think like this whole woke scold thing is kind of out of proportion. When you and Flam gonna debate again? I'm open to debate Flamenco if he wants to. I haven't reached out to him in a while. I don't know. I don't really know what I would debate Flamenco on as of right now. I don't have anything on mind. RedTube can't have stands. Yeah, no. RedTube having stands is toxic, because then when like people like Contra actually say something messed up or do something wrong, they when other people like actually try to call them out and hold them accountable, they're apparently just trying to cancel them, and they're bad for that.
And if the indiscretion is severe enough, humility and overall an honest apology and a guarantee,
which I would say is like literally definitionally bootlicking, which is kind of ironic because a bunch of them like call right-wingers and all of them bootlickers for numerous different reasons, and it's because they are right-wingers for the most part, are bootlickers, but it's kind of like they're doing essentially the same thing, just to different people for different reasons. But yeah, I digress.
That said mistake will not be repeated. However, if there is a pattern of behaviour, this becomes more difficult to accept, especially if there are actual victims involved, and in these cases there often are. Today we'll be talking about 3 of the main recent examples of this in the past few weeks to use as case studies, as this is a situation that needs to be discussed every time something like this happens, not just specifically in these situations.
It's about love, not cash. Stealing money from the poor's a bit rash. Line your pocket.
Okay, I don't think Ellen DeGeneres was really anyone's hero. But okay.
Silly tanks for your rockets. Look at it, we just can't stop it. Loving your neighbour with bombs is wrong. Loving your neighbour with bombs is wrong. Just don't become late. That's the only rule.
Oh, Ellen. Being in the UK, I must admit Ellen DeGeneres didn't exactly have the same cultural impact on me as some of my American friends, but even from afar, her journey has been fascinating and inspirational to see. In many ways, Ellen has been a gay icon for decades after coming out on TV in April 1992.
Oh, that might actually be true. Ellen was is was one of the biggest gay what would I call it? Would it be, what does Ellen do? Is it like a, I don't know. One of the biggest television stars, I guess I'd say. I don't know what the hell Ellen's fucking shit is called.
1997 on Oprah. Her character on the sitcom that shared her name at the time also came out of the closet to her therapist, also played by Oprah. The coming out episode was one of the highest rated episodes of the show and was generally received well by the audience, though the show experienced falling ratings due to ABC's cutting back on promoting the show, which was believed to be due to the Walt Disney Company, ABC's parent owner, having become uncomfortable with the subject matter depicted on the show now that DeGeneres' character was openly gay, which is shocking. I mean, Disney has historically been so progressive and inclusive. In May 1998, Ellen was cancelled. That's Ellen the TV show, and the person had to wait another 21 years to get cancelled on Twitter. The contentiousness of the media coverage stunted DeGeneres' professional career and left her mired in depression. Since then, however, Ellen has bounced back, having an extremely popular talk show and generally being beloved throughout the US. She's been married to her current wife.
See, I wanted to call it a talk show, but I was hesitant to do so, because I don't know what the fuck Ellen does. I've seen some of it, but, like, sometimes she does, like, fucking games and shit with, like, her guests, so, yeah, I don't know.
Wife, Portia, since 2008, though the passage of Proposition 8 cast doubt on the legal status of the marriage at the time, but a subsequent California Supreme Court judgment validated it because it did occur before the 4th of November 2008, which, I mean, I guess is good, but fucking hell, the hoops that had to be jumped through. Ellen is also known for her animal rights activism, being a proud vegan, donating to various animal rights.
Ellen's a vegan? Oh my. Oh, I can't believe she didn't get canceled sooner. No, I'm just messing. I should probably be a vegan, but that takes a lot of work. Also, I'm like broke as fuck, so like I couldn't really afford it. Unless I wanted to eat leaves for life, but yeah, I don't think I want to do that. Owen is a neolib LMAO. I mean, true, dude. I would like to see a discussion with Flamenco. I think Lemon can bread pill him. I don't think I can, but also I have had multiple discussions with Flamenco. Yeah.
Groups protesting against Trump's removal on restrictions on importation of elephant hunting.
Also, like last time I tried to talk economics with Flamenco, he said he just didn't really care too much about economics, but like if he had to say anything, he prefers privatization because it seems to be more stable. But I mean, that's kind of just cap, because like literally like capitalism's like foundationally built on instability. But this stream isn't really for that. I'm not really trying to dwell or I don't know, dive into that, you know, or dwell on that. But yeah, a vegan that supports the Iraq war. Yeah, she's for animal rights, not humans' rights. Like, what do you think? Well, certain humans' rights, right? Like, dude, come on now.
Trophies, and the list goes on. Basically, Ellen's a nice, kind person who cares about human and animal rights, which is why what happened was so surprising. In October 2019, Ellen was photographed sitting next to and happily laughing along with former President George W. Bush, which surprised a lot of her supporters, and rumours started spreading online, not helped by Ellen's initial silence on the matter. She did, of course, eventually respond on the next episode of The Ellen Show, which went down like a ton of bricks. Let's take a look at her response and break it down, shall we? First off, on the official Ellen YouTube page, it's called "This photo of Ellen and George W. Bush will give you faith in America."
I remember I watched this on stream. This video is literally ass, and whoever tweeted that should delete their Twitter.
Again, which is rather presumptuous and tone deaf to start with, but let's forget that for now and actually take a look at this. So the first point to be made is the tone.
Which stream did we do on that again, Lodge? I don't remember what stream we did on that. Is that the? I don't remember what stream. Was it the stream where we ended up arguing against like the ways in which we should do schooling? Was that what we were? Is that when we did that? I don't know.
It's very light, very jokey, very dismissive almost.
So I want to talk about something that happened this weekend. I know it's Tuesday. Sometimes I like to ruminate on things all day Monday so that on Tuesday you hear about it. So this weekend I went to Dallas for the Cowboys game. And thanks. And it may not seem like a big deal for a celebrity to attend a football game, but I never leave my house, so it is a big deal.
Then there's the excessive posturing over wealth and status.
So Portia and I were invited by Charlotte Jones. She's the daughter of Jerry Jones, who owns the Dallas Cowboys. And we went because we...
Cayman Pikachu's Lodge Banistan. I still don't know if I'm pronouncing your name right. You've told me it several times. I'm probably not, but I'm trying my hardest. I'll just blame it on the fact that I'm sick right now and have a sore throat, so you just heard it weird, or I said it weird. Whatever.
Wanted to keep up with the Joneses. So anyway, so we get to sit in this very fancy suite because, you know, he owns the whole place. So his suite is fancy, and he's got fancy friends. And I don't mean fancy like Real Housewife fancy. I mean like fancy. But Aaron Rodgers is a friend of mine. He's the quarterback for the Packers. But during the game, they showed a shot of George and me laughing together. And so people were upset. They thought, why is a gay Hollywood liberal sitting next to a conservative Republican president? Didn't even notice I'm holding the brand new iPhone 11.
Oh, look, I have the new iPhone. Oh.
Flex, dude. Flex.
Oh, look, I'm so famous. I get invited to fancy places and so on and so forth. It's whatever the opposite of down to earth is. She's better than you is the inferred meaning here. And then there's the common theme that we're seeing a lot nowadays of the rehabilitation of war criminal George W. Bush.
Why did our audience love this so much? Like, it's a boomer. Ooh, two boomers sitting next to each other. Ooh, yay, we're gonna clap now. God, I'm surprised Ellen even knows how to work a fucking iPhone. Like, look at her. Look at her.
Oh, look at him. Isn't he so wacky? More on this in a moment. There's this
fucking boomers.
This weird bit about whistleblowers, which, if you know anything about Bush's administration, is unfortunate.
But a lot of people were mad, and they did what people do when they're mad. They tweet, and but here's one tweet that I loved. This person says, Ellen and George Bush together makes me have faith in America again.
Delete your Twitter. @Matthew_O. Delete your Twitter.
And,
Exactly. We have faith in America again, because two boomers with kind of opposing viewpoints, but not really, were like sitting next to each other at a football game. Yay, this is the political mending we need. Yay. Maybe this time they'll agree to bomb brown people again like they did in Iraq. Because political mending and building togetherness in the US has always resulted in good things when liberals and conservatives work together across the aisle and end up bombing brown people, the one thing they can always agree on.
Not recognizing the actual criticisms then, just cherry picking one positive response. Okay then, this part's going to be the main focus of this video, so pay close attention.
here's the thing. I'm friends with George Bush. In fact, I'm friends with a lot of people.
No. Do not harass Matt. Do not harass Matt. No. Do not harass him. Also, just forget their Twitter username. Yeah. And when I said they needed to delete their Twitter, I was talking about in a video game, by the way.
People who don't share the same beliefs that I have. We're all different, and I think that we've forgotten that that's okay that we're all different. For instance, I wish people wouldn't wear fur. I don't like it, but I'm friends with people who wear fur. And I'm friends with people who are furry, as a matter of fact. I have friends who should tweeze more. And but just because I don't agree with someone on everything doesn't mean that I'm not going to be friends with them. When I say be kind to one another, I don't mean only the people that think the same way that you do. I mean be kind to everyone. Doesn't matter.
We watched this. I forgot. What's the what's it called? The intolerant fallacy? No, the tolerance fallacy. I think it's the tolerance fallacy. Yeah. Where basically, if you're tolerant of intolerant people, then intolerant people don't get checked, and they get to do what they want essentially, and it results in bad things. That's basically the reductionist take of the tolerancy paradox or whatever. They're all wine moms, not all of them. There's a lot of Zoomers in the crowd actually. Also, there's a guy right over here. There's a few guys in there. I wouldn't call them all wine moms, but yeah, they're all like libs though. I'll tell you that much. They're all libs. Or centrist, one or the other. All six of us are. No, don't do. But true, all six of us. Dang, dude, I'm too dangerous. I can't be throwing out like all this like delete your Twitter and stuff. The repercussions that might have. Oof. Also, if anything, the responsibility doesn't fall on me because Ellen's the one who showed their Twitter. But yeah, those Zoomers in Ellen's audience are Jin traders. Yeah, what are they doing? You sound you kind of sound like Hassan a bit. Yo, I'm sick right now. Also, I don't know how true that is. They're Jin traders. Yo, that's the new thing. It's age traders, dude. Again, Boomer isn't an age set. It's a lifestyle and an ideology, right? Like Ellen's not a boomer age-wise, but Ellen's a boomer lifestyle and ideology-wise. Lodge, I do not advocate for that. Even though I disagree with Vosh on a good amount of things, I still think Vosh does some good things. I think he does a lot of bad things. But then again, he does a lot of good things. I have a neutral take. I'm the radical centrist in this. I think, like, I don't know. I don't want to get off topic from watching this. I think Vosh does like good things, but I think Vosh's framing of like good things in the sense of like, I know I keep saying that, but like pulling like people over into the left, but I think he does it in a way that's really narrow-minded and really I can't think of the word, narrow-minded and kind of I can't think of the word, but like in a way in which is antithetical to leftist values, essentially like doing like a bunch of ableist or a bunch of other shit like in ways to or ableist, sometimes racist edgy things as a means to like reach edgy like white teenagers or just edgy white people in general. Yeah, which I think has like a lot of repercussions with creating like a hostile environment on the left for those people. But not only that, also like not actually like establishing like true leftist values in the people who he's bringing over. Like, cool, they're anti-capitalist, but not like they're not only anti-capitalist, they're also like fucking ableist, and they're also fucking racist to a certain extent. Yeah, also like getting rid of like a bunch of like people or like just again creating a hostile environment to like people that like his rhetoric / like what he's doing might not be too kind to those people, or literally like cause harm to them, or just be what's the word? Can't think of it. I can't think of words today, sorry. But just might be like targeting them in general. Like again, like I don't understand. I know I'm going off on this huge timer, but I don't understand a debate of tanking extreme. Maybe I don't know any tankies, but I don't understand why Vosh is like. This is probably my biggest critique of Vosh is I don't understand why he's so ableist, but he also has autism. I don't get it. Like it would seem rather like that he would be more understanding, but no, he like literally like uses like mental illness and he uses mental illness, IQ and shit like that as insults all the time. I just don't understand it. I would think that he would come from a more understanding viewpoint since he has autism, but I don't know. Disrocks is an ML. Maybe we can debate them next stream. I don't know if Disrocks would be open to, but I'm open to it if Disrocks is.
Even people who are already playing Christmas music. I mean, seriously, there's no excuse for that, but I'm kind to them. Anyway, I want to thank Jerry Jones, Charlotte Jones for hosting us, and thanks President Bush and Laura for a Sunday afternoon that was so fun. By the way, you owe me $6 for the nachos.
That, to me, is fucking disgusting. For those who don't know, George W. Bush isn't...
Caddy's an ML? No, Caddy's not an ML. Caddy told me that he's a social democrat. Caddy literally hates MLs. Good meme, though. I think he does it in This Outweighs the Negative. What? Are you talking about Vosh, or who are you talking about? Also, Lodge, I didn't understand your comment earlier where you were talking about the boomers a lifestyle comment. Lodge is trolling. Yeah, I know. I said good meme. But wait, you think Vosh does it as This Outweighs the Negative? I mean, I disagree. You know, I mean, it's questionable. I don't think it does, because if anything, like, you're instilling hostility in people, or not necessarily instilling, but maybe like it could be instilling, it could be validating certain people's views already that are hostile, or like they don't they're targeting certain people, or creates a hostile I'm bad at speaking today, but are hostile towards certain people, like based on race, or based on disabilities, etc. I'm saying boomer has become a slur. Yeah, that's funny. Okay, boomer.
Just someone you don't agree with on everything.
Like right now, that's what I'm saying. See, that's the boomer lifestyle. Like, Lodge isn't a boomer, age-wise, but lifestyle-wise, Lodge is a fucking boomer.
Monster who murdered 1 million Iraqi civilians, and, as the footage now playing in the background demonstrates...
I tried to turn up my damn mic. I also said I was sick, so I'm gonna be quiet this stream, you bastard.
The atrocities committed by American soldiers in Iraq were beyond fucking criminal, not to mention the establishment and expansion of Guantanamo Bay as a base from which to legally torture prisoners who had not been given any kind of trial or proven to be guilty of any crime with impunity. Just a few examples of some of these war crimes. The Mahmudiyah rape and killings, consisting of the gang rape and murder of a 14-year-old Iraqi girl and the murder of her family by United States Army soldiers. Other members of the family murdered by Americans.
I never even knew about that. All I knew is that Guantanamo Bay is like really fucking messed up, and like they do waterboard and other torture there. God, so fucked. Dude, Guantanamo Bay.
Included her 34-year-old mother, 45-year-old father, and 6-year-old sister. The two remaining survivors of the family, 9-year-old brother Ahmed and 11-year-old brother Mohammed, who were at school during the massacre, were orphaned by the event. And as if this wasn't bad enough, the soldiers who participated in the incident lied to the Iraqi army soldiers who arrived on scene immediately afterwards, telling them that it had been perpetrated by enemy insurgents, which prevented the event from being recognized as a crime.
Who's Heimler? Am I just too big of a zoomer to know?
Or widely reported amidst the widespread violence occurring. This became widely known among the unit and was revealed during an investigation carried out by one of their fellow soldiers. However, due to the fact that this soldier felt that he might be victimized or even killed by the perpetrators, and neither he nor his superior NCO trusted their superiors, this information was only revealed to the world because the private in question pretended to have mental health issues and deliberately told a counselor, who was then legally obligated to pass this on to the authorities. The Haditha massacre was a series of killings in which a group of United States Marines murdered 24 unarmed Iraqi civilians with no clear provocation in 2006. Among the dead were men, women, children, and the elderly, who were shot multiple times at close range while unarmed. It was alleged that the killings were a response to the attack on a convoy of Marines with an improvised explosive device that killed an American soldier. An initial Marine Corps communique reported...
Boomer's a mindset. True. Welcome to the stream, Jules. If you aren't subbed, please sub. I'd very much appreciate it. Alright, back to the video.
That 15 civilians were killed by the bomb's blast, and 8 insurgents were subsequently killed when the Marines returned fire against those attacking the convoy. However, other evidence uncovered by the media showed this to be a fucking lie. A Time magazine reporter's questions prompted the United States military...
Also, I hate to do this, but hey, we got 7 in this stream. You could share up the stream with all your left-wing homies. Very much appreciated. In fact, I will give you a hypothetical / airborne smooch that you can hear through the mic if you share up the stream. Alright, back to watching the video. And that goes for all of you.
To open an investigation into the incident. The investigation found evidence that supports accusations that US Marines deliberately shot civilians, according to an anonymous Pentagon official. 3 officers were officially reprimanded for failing to properly initially report and investigate the killings.
Oh, and drop a like, and you'll also get another hypothetical airborne smooch.
8 Marines were charged in connection with the incident.
I already shared the video on my server, Slowwoke, but thank you.
2008, however, 6 defendants had their cases dropped and the 7th found not guilty. In 2007, the Article 32 hearing investigating officer recommended that the sole remaining perpetrator be tried for negligent homicide in the deaths of 2 women and 5 children, and that charges of murder be dropped. Further charges of assault and manslaughter were ultimately dropped as well, and he was convicted of a single count of negligent dereliction of duty in 2012, received a rank reduction and pay cut, but avoided jail time. In 2004, it came to light that members of the United States Army and the CIA committed serious human rights violations against detainees in the Abu Ghraib prison in Iraq.
Thanks, Pump,
These
for already
violations
sharing
included
it.
physical.
Since Pump shared it for y'all, hold on, I'm getting a call. Give me 1 second. Hello? Did you read my text? Alright, cool. Alright, that's just what it's doing. Alright, bye. Love you, bye. So anyways, back to what I was saying. Since Pump shared it, I will give that hypothetical airborne smooch that you will be able to audibly hear through the mic now. There you all go. Everybody can say thank you, Pump.
And sexual abuse, torture, rape, sodomy, and...
Oh my god, you said you didn't share it? Oh my god, I'm taking that smooch back. Act like you didn't hear it. Any of you.
murder. The incidents received widespread condemnation both within the United States and abroad, though of course the soldiers received support from some conservative media within the United States because the conservative media is just a caricature of evil. The administration claimed unconvincingly that the abuses that
after this video, oh wait, this video is kind of long. Do we want to watch this video for the rest of it? Because I'm probably going to end the stream in about 30 minutes. Sorry, it's short. It's a school night. Also, I'm sick, not feeling too good. But, so yes or no, do we want to watch this? Do we want to watch this for the rest of the stream, or do we want to move on to something else? I think we get the gist of it. You put it in general? Okay. It looks like we want to move on. Give me a second. I'm pulling it up right now. I had to switch to the Discord tab. It's taking a little while. All right. What is this video? Oh, also I have to watch the ants video. So, oh, I've seen this before, but yeah, I'll play it for the stream. If I get copyright righted for this music or copyright struck, I am going to be mad. Also, I don't remember how if this is like super messed up or not. So we'll find out. Not this time, Pump, because I'm gonna have to go soon. Okay, never mind. We're not gonna watch this. I forgot how messed up it was. I do not endorse anything that you might have heard. I know it's a meme, but it's too much. Alright, let's see what this is.
Only the optics matter. Optics, noun. The way a situation looks to the general public. The way your actions are perceived. Why am I talking about drama? Aren't there bigger things to worry about? Bigger damn fish to fry? I'm actually going to be attempting a sociological viewpoint of this whole thing, and the effects of optics and public statements by online personalities when addressing this kind of situation. I would argue that if the left can get hyped for...
Wait, why isn't the auto-gener... Oh, wait, can I... Oh, no, that's what I was... I can't read that. I wish I could. Oh, Froggy Fresh? Bruh. Why are you sending me such old-ass videos?
In-depth analysis of the Lion King movies, then maybe we could also get hyped about what's happening with the ContraPoints non-binary situation. Disclaimer. Harassment and doxing are awful. I don't want to cancel anyone. I don't hate anyone. I've supported these creators for years. No. I don't think that pressuring content creators...
I saw it, Lodge. No. I'm not watching Froggy Fresh Dunked On, because first of all, I know for sure I will get copyright claimed if I play that. Also, it's not that good of a song, sorry to break it to you. And I do not know why James is crying still after listening to it.
to immediately cut all ties with someone is cool. The necessary disclaimer is over.
Can't we be talking about more important things?
Do you know who really hates non-binary people? Transphobes. Do you know who really loves strict binary gender roles? Fascists. Do you know what the strict gender binary reinforces? Sexism, homophobia, transphobia, oppression, and capitalism really, really, really likes oppression. I'm not saying that we need to completely destroy the gender binary. It is fine to be a man or a woman. I love binary people. I love non-binary people. Let's just all get along and be friends. My optimism will literally kill me. Being more inclusive would be beneficial to everyone, even to cisgender straight white guys. There would be less rigid expectations for them. Yes, of course, there are more important things happening in the world right now, but that will pretty much always be the case. We can be and should be invested in talking about more than one thing at a time. Maybe we should try and address these issues instead of sticking our heads in the sand and waiting for the next time that this inevitably happens again. Maybe we should have conversations instead of brushing this one off. Whether you think that their pain is warranted or not, people are hurting over this. I've seen comments dismiss this pain as performative, which is kind of really bad. Dismissing the pain of hundreds, if not thousands, of trans people?
This is just being blown way out of proportion.
Why are
I'm not. Alright, I'm saying true that we need to discuss this and confront it and not blow it off. I'm pretty sure I said it before that. Yeah, you know what I mean.
Non-binary people hurting? Why is this a big deal? Trans medicalism is a huge source of tension in the trans community right now. If you're not part of the trans community, you probably can't imagine the extent of this. That is fine, but sometimes you can't smell the smoke, so you should probably listen to the people who can. And when I say this, I don't mean that ContraPoints is the problem in the trans community. No. I think that talking about trans medicalism as a concept is actually a lot more productive than just calling ContraPoints a trans medicalist. Although all of this doesn't change the fact that Buck Angel is definitely a vocal trans medicalist, Blair White would probably be very happy that he was included in a video. That's not a very good look. The LGBTQ community has a long history of a struggle with optics because LGBTQ people are desperate to finally be perceived as normal in the eyes of society. We have a history of throwing entire subgroups of the community under the bus in an attempt at finally being accepted. The reason that subgroups of the LGBTQ community are pushed away is because...
You watched this video before? Sorry, Slowwoke. I haven't seen it yet.
Because that they are bad for optics, and it often has something to do with class, gender expression, and race. Transgender people specifically have been at the center of an optics struggle in the community for the last few years, especially in the US, where their rights constantly hang in the balance, and they are now a mainstream talking point. Trans people are desperately trying to find their footing in the mainstream, and in order to secure a place, people like Blair White, Calvin Garra, and Buck Angel push non-binary and non-passing trans identities into the spotlight and say, these people are crazy, irrational, they're not normal, I'm normal.
Pump, what's the, is it like Box the Sheep or something? Pump, what's the name of the one who was covering Bush's war crimes? Yeah, no, but this is a different video. This is who is this from? This is from Corvide. Damn, that's a lot of subs. They should give me some.
Is what oppression does to oppressed people. When trans Twitter blows up...
Latest video? Hold on, let me see it. I'm hesitant to click this, but
Coins of bound here around the crystal tree, far from Bowser's castle up to the galaxy.
But ContraPoints, this isn't just drama or harassment. This is a fight for survival.
wait a minute, hold on. Alright, we can continue now.
In late-stage capitalism, and it can get very dirty. Trans non-binary Twitter is trying to push back against the representation of trans medicalism on YouTube. Anyone dismissing this as no big deal should be quite wary, because the current discourse about non-binary people says a lot about the world and how it pits marginalized communities against each other.
The world isn't a safe space.
I know. I'm transgender. I live in a world where trans women are killed for existing. I live in a world where non-passing trans people are terrified to use public restrooms, where non-binary people are harassed on the internet. I don't live in a safe space. I live in a fucking danger zone, and I don't even have a very hard time navigating it. I'm white. I'm pretty much socially invisible. I can't even imagine what it's like to be a non-passing trans woman of color right now.
Waj, I will make a boomer rule just for you if you keep on shit posting.
Radicalism is dangerous, not only for non-binary people who it excludes from its worldview, but also for binary trans people too. As a trans person, I have met quite a lot of trans people. I can pretty confidently tell you that there is no one way to be transgender. Everyone has a different experience with their body, their social role, their gender feelings. None of us have exactly the same experience with transition or even our needs when it comes to medical care. Attempting to construct a rigid set of characteristics that we must abide by in order to truly be transgender is harmful to everybody. Very, very few people will fit neatly into that system. This kind of gatekeeping prevents people from accessing medical care, change their gender markers, and can even lead to more violence for non-passing trans people. The left is eating itself. I sometimes feel like I'm part of a movement where any criticism of the largest voices feels like a threat to the movement itself, and I do understand why people feel like that. I felt like that before. Watching this kind of thing go down from the sidelines can be very frustrating, especially when you feel like fascism is winking at you from the other side of the room. However, I do sometimes think that this idea of left unity is being used to dismiss legitimate concerns from marginalized communities.
True.
This is a bit worrying to me. Groups of people expressing pain repeatedly can be dismissed. They will get more angry. It doesn't make their pain less real.
I would argue it's not only like their fucking voices are getting like dismissed, or it's not how to word this. Like, not only are their voices getting dismissed, these environments / communities are being hostile towards them, and their voices being dismissed is part of that.
People in pain can get angry. The thing is, when large groups of marginalized people get hurt, there is no one in charge telling them what to do. There is no behavior agreement. Things can get very messy, very fast. While some people still think that the pain isn't justified, I would remind them that that does not make the pain less real. Even if you don't understand it, it's still there. Some people definitely won't know how to deal with that pain in a healthy way. A big group of uncoordinated, disconnected, decentralized, hurt people is always going to end up with some people taking it way too far and participating in toxic behavior.
This is a non-binary hate mob, not criticism.
Because it's non-binary trans people on Twitter, suddenly it's a group of sensitive snowflakes making a fuss over nothing, or it's a rabid hate mob. People think these things because that's what it looks like from the outside. It's all about the optics. The Twitter format itself is a format that leans towards toxic behavior. I think most of us will agree on that. However, if a group of people use it to voice their concerns because it's one of the only places where they have managed to build a solid community and they know they will be heard, can we blame the whole group for the actions of a few? Has anyone paused to think about why trans non-binary people are such a big Twitter demographic? Has anyone paused to consider that it might be because other platforms, such as YouTube, are such scary hellscapes for non-passing or non-binary trans people? Irrational, crazy, Tumblr, safe space leftists. Watch a couple of Blair White videos and you'll catch my drift. I'm not saying that everyone sees us this way, but a lot of people do, including a trans medicalist in a video.
When bread tubers start acting like Democratic Party. Wait, I'm confused. What do you mean by that? I'm so confused. This video, the title seems sketch. We'll see. How long is it? 24 minutes. Hold on. Let's finish this one.
Video essay.
Oh yeah, in terms of promoting unity, yeah. It's like people think of it like the top bread tubers being like, yeehaw, we need to promote unity in the Democratic Party, but like instead they're talking about on BreadTube, like we need to promote unity on the online left sphere, right? But then turning around and like how the Democratic Party like dog shits on fucking Bernie Sanders, right? Them doing that to like anyone who like critiques them at all.
To cause a lot of discussion and even outrage. The online trans community is very aware of Buck Angel's views. Trans medicalism is
like literally like the Nancy Pelosi and AOC / the squad situation. Again, I'm sorry for me not being able to talk today. I'm sick. Also, I'm just bad with words. Yeah. I'm gonna close Discord for now because a lot of people are typing on there.
Often praised by conservatives or even TERFs and transphobes. These people wish to gatekeep medical care for trans people as much as they can. This is why Graham Linehan, of all people, cozies up to Buck Angel on Twitter. And although you might not think this is a big deal, for a lot of people, it is. This discourse could have very real consequences on their access to medical care or even their human rights in the very near future. The discourse surrounding trans people right now is, quite ironically, in a stage of transition into the mainstream. People are suddenly a lot more aware that we exist, and the tension arising in the community is a result of the transphobic society that we are all trying to navigate. People like Blair and Buck do what they do because they legitimately think that it's their best shot at being accepted. They think that non-binary and non-passing trans people are a threat to transgender optics. Therefore, they declare these people as not really transgender to not be associated with them. The public statements. There has been quite a lot of criticism of the...
Slowwoke, I did not just censor you people on the Discord, okay? If you want your messages seen, you come to the YouTube chat, okay?
public statements. Don't get me wrong, their content is great. Thank you for your content. However, I think that a lot of the criticism of these statements has got to do with optics. I'm not talking about the optics surrounding online personalities. I'm talking about the optics that concern a marginalized group of people. These optics are about how trans people, and more specifically non-binary people, are perceived by the mainstream. It's about how this whole situation is viewed from the outside. I've seen people comparing this to Gamergate. I've seen people comparing this to an alt-right Nazi mob. The reasons behind these two are not the same. Unfortunately, making this comparison...
Not only are the reasons behind the two not the same, they're not similar at all. Like, we're just trying to hold people accountable for the shit they say or have done. Alt-right mobs and fucking Gamergate was just like fucking lashing out like full of like hate.
It's not about the intention, it's about the optics. It looks like Gamergate from the outside. It feels like an alt-right harassment campaign when you are the one getting flooded with Twitter mentions, especially if you've already been the target of Nazi harassment.
Because I have to, like, I'm gonna be leaving, like, or not leaving, but like I'm gonna be ending the stream like pretty soon, like I don't know, 10 to 20 minutes, because I got school tomorrow and I'm not feeling good. Maybe if you were paying attention, Lodge, you would have heard that.
The way this whole thing has been handled is very worrying to me, and I'm worried about the next time this happens. The negative narrative about non-binary people will be reinforced in onlookers' minds. I realise this might not be the intention of these statements, but it's not about the intention, it's about the optics. I have no control over what people do on Twitter. I do not know all trans people. We are not an organised group. Obviously, we are not going to react in the same way when this kind of thing happens. The emotional tension in these statements is important for the people.
Pump, that's a good question. I don't know. I don't think we do, but I'm not sure. We might.
The crowd observing. The right wing.
But I don't think so. And since I don't think so, then I'm gonna assume I don't have it off. I'll probably ask my mom when she's home. Mommy. No, I'm just messing. Oh, maybe if you didn't silence me on Discord, I would know. Sorry. Didn't mean to.
Reactionary side of the internet very often uses the crazy SJW, irrational, safe space, non-binary feminist in order to win people over and get people more on board with their politics. I'm simply urging people to take this into consideration when addressing this kind of situation publicly, especially if your voice is amplified by the number of people listening to you. No, I don't think that these creators are my friends. I see them as professionals making content online. This is their job. Professional on...
Sorry, I'm not laughing at the video. I'm just laughing because of what oh my god, of what Willix Love just said. Lemon's mom is a tree. True, dude. I feel bad for you if you don't have it off. I don't know if I do. I hope I do.
Online influencers who can literally influence the discourse surrounding us. I am personally very, very capable of making the distinction between an online personality and a close friend. However, even if I wasn't, as YouTubers, we build our channels around a sense of community, a sense of support, especially when we cater to marginalized audiences. A large part of the YouTuber brand is built around building parasocial relationships with the people watching us. I am seriously questioning whether we can use this to our advantage when people defend us and turn around and label it as inherently toxic only when part of our audience is hurt. When your income depends on your community and your community is built around your personality and your personality fuels your content, can we separate the art from the artist? We live in a digital age. Twitter is simultaneously a personal venting space and a part of our professional branding. When these two overlap, can we blame our audience? Or should we be looking at the system which this kind of dynamic feeds from? I understand why you want to condemn toxic behavior. However, you've got to be really wary about doing that in a statement which could be read from the outside as a generalization of an entire marginalized community. This could reinforce the mainstream perception of us, which is already overwhelmingly negative. Introducing your fanbase to this complex situation with a statement which could be read as a non-binary mob versus us is really scary. Observing the discourse surrounding
my dog's going crazy.
Gender people is not just drama to me. It's a survival tactic. I have been so careful phrasing my thoughts here because I'm desperately trying to counter the narrative that portrays people like me as an angry, irrational mob. We have to be careful. I'm literally tone policing myself. Natalie Wynn, also known as ContraPoints, and I have an in-joke which goes thus. The truth does not matter. Only optics matters. The basis for this is that your lived inner beliefs may as well not exist, because if you speak your truth, it will often be taken in bad faith. So there is no truth. Only #brand, only construct, and only damage control. Lindsay Ellis wrote this paragraph about the optics of online personalities. Weirdly enough, it rings true to me, but for different reasons. If you speak your truth, it will often be taken in bad faith, so there is only #brand, only construct, and only damage control. We dehumanize not only content creators, but also the people who criticize them. I'm just trying to look underneath this discourse and trying to make sense of it in the bigger picture. Let's look at the people hurting. Before dismissing them or taking a side, maybe we should be asking ourselves why the sides exist in the first place. I sound like a fucking centrist.
Harsh words have been exchanged, but I need young radicals like you in my life. The minute I stop listening to people like you is the minute I become irrelevant. So what's the plan?
A huge thank you to all of my patrons, especially Jessica. You all give me the hope that one day I will escape the clutches of 9-to-5 capitalism and do
I'm back, but with food. So that means The stream's gonna be even longer.
Love for a living. If you would like to help me out on this journey, you can support me on Patreon. I don't only make stuff like this, I also make satirical...
But not too much longer. Alright, we're done with that video. On to the next video.
Human rights today have the kind of status that the divine right of kings had in the Middle Ages. They are so deeply ingrained in our political thinking that imagining a society without them seems almost impossible. We all know
we're living in one.
Know the famous line from the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. But we should beware of what seems self-evident. In many cases, what seems self-evident is less an indication of what is correct or indubitable, and more an indication of our biases, an effect of the time and place we live in. One of the most influential liberal political philosophers of the 20th century, John Rawls, once even stated that human rights are not the consequence of a particular philosophy, nor of one way among others of looking at the world. They are not tied to the cultural tradition of the West alone, even if it was within this tradition that they were formulated for the first time. They just follow from the definition of justice. That human rights simply follow from the definition of justice is, at the very least, a strange claim, because the notion of justice has been theorized at least since the ancient Greeks, whereas the doctrine of human rights was not fully formulated until the 17th century. Can we really untie the definition?
Wait, I thought they said they were non-binary. Oh, maybe they didn't say in the video. But I thought at the beginning they said they were non-binary. I'm not sure.
Of justice from the vast majority of the term's history? Whenever we feel like some notion or idea is impossible to do without, there is a kind of therapy we can utilize. It's called history. By seeing how the idea of human rights emerged, we can then situate it as a product of a particular time and place, and thus hopefully remove the limits that it places on our political imagination. A crucial distinction is in order before we begin. The distinction between objective rights and subjective rights. Objective rights state what is right in general. For example, it is right to bury the dead, it is right to obey your parents, or it is right to serve your community. Notice that these do not attribute rights to an individual. They do not state whose right it is to bury the dead, merely that it is right. Subjective rights, on the other hand, are rights that are attributed to an individual, a subject, hence subjective. Examples would include the familiar rights from the Declaration of Independence. I have the right to liberty. I have the right to property. I have the right to a fair trial. These do not state what is right generally, but rather speak of rights as something that someone possesses. And it is this category, subjective rights, that constitutes the idea of human rights that we are all so familiar with, something that each human being owns, merely by virtue of...
Wait, did I turn my audio back on? Ah, phew, I did. I thought for a second I didn't, and I was like, oof.
Being human. Today we pretty much identify rights as such with subjective rights. If someone speaks of rights, more often than not, we can assume they're speaking about the subjective variety. Yet they're actually an incredibly recent invention. When, for example, ancient Greeks spoke of what is right or lawful or just, they had the objective conception in mind. To them, the idea of subjective right would probably be incomprehensible. In fact, sentences in the form of "I have the right to" something are not even possible to construct in ancient Greek. Ancient Greek philosophers commonly saw what is right, what is lawful, as being determined by the moral order of the world itself. What is right was not to be found in individuals, but in the harmonious order of things, in the relationships between the different parts of the world and one's community. Roman law famously defined justice as giving each person...
I didn't expect to see that. Kinda thick though, no cap. I forgot I was gonna up the speed.
And what is due to him. Reading this through the spectacles of our times, we might assume that what giving each person what is due to him means is something like respecting each person's individual property rights. But as I already mentioned, the notion of a subjective right has...
God damn. He swole.
Not even been formulated at the time. What was due to a person was determined not by the individual rights they possessed, but by their position in the larger community and their relationship to the other members of the community. The point of such distributive justice was to aim at social harmony, something that can only be understood in light of the community as a whole, rather than in terms of isolated individual rights. So what changed this brand of justice, so different from the one common in our times? What made it possible to think of rights as subjective? Like many things in the history of quote-unquote the West, one thing in particular is crucial: Christianity. First of all, Christianity conceived of each individual as having a soul, something which places each person in direct relationship to God, and thus gives each person a kind of absolute value. Because the soul exists independently both from one's personal qualities and the community one belongs to, it becomes possible to view individuals not as the specific members of their community, but instead as abstract human beings, each being equal in sharing a common essence. Because a soul is both universal and eternal, human beings could now be viewed in abstraction from both time and space, independently from the position they occupy in their community, or the world more generally. Secondly, certain Christians, for example William of Ockham, eventually argued that if the moral law is inherent in the order of things, it leaves no freedom for God, as God must follow the order of things as well. Because of this, gradually the moral law came to be seen not as something inherent in the order of things, but something stemming from the will of God. The importance of order is replaced by the importance of will. Finally, because we are created by God in the image of God, it takes a small step to identify the will of God with the will of each individual. Thus, the result is a morality built on universal abstract rights, which emanate from the will of each individual, by virtue of a shared human essence. We arrive at the full-fledged Enlightenment conception of human rights. Some might be surprised by the significant role played by Christianity in the development of human rights, but this was made very clear in the writings of the theorists developing human rights themselves. John Locke, for example, one of the main philosophical influences on the Declaration of Independence, started his theory of rights from the claim that God owns us as property, and therefore endows us with inalienable rights, and this is stated in the Declaration of Independence itself. Humans are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. The religious parallels don't end there. Human rights and belief in God are also similar in that both are supposed to be something self-evident, rather than something you can discover empirically. And just as nowadays people claim that without the doctrine of human rights, society would plunge into chaos, so people used to argue that society would plunge into chaos without the belief in God. So far, I've mostly been talking about ideas, namely Christian ideas. But ideas don't just float around in the heavens. In order to be effective, they need to be established materially in political and social life. The influence of Christianity is clear, but why is it that the ideology of human rights became so widely and rapidly accepted, specifically in the 17th century and onwards, when Christianity had existed much longer than that? Well, if the ideas behind human rights are inseparable from Christian thought, then their political influence is inseparable from the rise of capitalism. In order for capitalism to kick off, the emerging capitalists had to buy a land that was previously owned communally for the subsistence of the people living on it, and turn it into land owned individually for profit. This was known as the enclosure movement, during which many peasants who previously worked on commonly owned land, producing for their own consumption, were forcibly and often violently removed from said land, and now propertyless were forced to work for a wage. Thus,
damn, dude, you know what that reminds me of? The Kulaks. Ahaha, got him. Collectivize that shit.
People who previously saw themselves as part of a larger community, working together to accomplish shared goals, now became isolated and atomized individuals, and the production process no longer responsible to their community, but to their boss, the individual capitalist. Collective solidarity was gradually replaced with individual competition. Workers ceased being fellow members in a shared community and became individuals competing for a wage. They became, in other words, individuals who got together in production in the pursuit of their own private individual interests, workers pursuing a wage and capitalists pursuing more capital. The ideology of human rights went hand in hand with the situation. It conceived of freedom primarily as negative freedom, freedom from, for example, freedom from interference, replacing the positive collective freedom people experienced in pursuit of shared goals before. Competition led people to view each other as something that they must be protected from, as something that constantly threatens to infringe on their quote-unquote rights. And this is also why social contract theory became so popular, positing that society was created through the establishment of a contract. If people are seen as individualized and atomized by default, and get together only in pursuit of their own self-interest, then the only conceivable way to form a society is to sign a contract. This led to the strict separation between what Hegel called civil society on the one hand and the political state on the other. Civil society is the society of the market, of private individuals pursuing their private interests independently of anyone else. The political state, in contrast, is the sphere in which people get together to make common decisions, fixing the excesses of the civil sphere. Liberal society was shaped by this fundamental split, private individuals on one side and the state with its offices, courts, army, and police force on the other. Hence, Marx writes,
above all, we note the fact that the so-called rights of man are nothing but the rights of a member of civil society, i.e. the rights of egoistic man, of man separated from other men and from the community.
See you, Jules. Ironically enough, that's what Marx sounds like too, just so you know. Even though Marx looks like he is probably like a deep voice because he's got the long ass beard, the nice hair, he just looks like he has a deep voice. Nah, that's what he sounds like. That was just an audio clip from him. He recorded it on his iPhone he had.
The separation between civil society and the political state splits the individual into two: the private, egoistic individual of civil society on the one hand, and the political man, the citizen of the political state, on the other. This also creates a tension in the ideology of human rights, because they're supposed to exist independently of any particular political system, but can only be granted to a person if the state recognizes them as a citizen. The abstract, universal human being is in constant tension with a particular citizen of a specific political community. The way in which human rights view individuals as universal and abstract was also befitting the capitalist production process, because when a capitalist hires workers, he views them as abstract individuals defined only by their labor power. And because the ideology of human rights posits that rights are formally equal for everyone, it helps obscure the vast and real power imbalances that exist between real people. For example, the state proclaims that the courts are fair because everyone has an equal right to a fair trial. But this equal right obscures the fact that how fair your trial is depends on the lawyer you can afford. The doctrine of equal human rights does not actually make people equal. It just allows them to be viewed in abstraction from everything that actually makes them the person that they are. This is yet another tension found in human rights. On the one hand, their supposed purpose is to protect the autonomy of the individual, yet by its very nature, it must view human beings in abstraction from everything that actually makes them an individual. But even given all of this, it could still be the case that human rights have a net positive value, right? We should be careful not to commit a genetic fallacy here, judging that something is bad solely based on where it came from or how it emerged. It could be that rights are valuable even if they were originally declared to legitimate the interests of the emerging capitalist class. However, I think that the problem with human rights, at least as we understand and implement them, is inherent to them. To explain why, we must ask what their fundamental problem is. Let's begin from a starting point that is often overlooked or ignored in theory: the enforcement of rights. Liberal political theorists, when speaking of rights or laws, often avoid speaking of their enforcement like the devil. This is because the issue of enforcement brings to light the power dynamics at play. Who has the power to enforce? But in order for human rights to be effective, they have to be enforced, violently if necessary. So who enforces them? Well, those who have the power to enforce them, those who control the courts, the military, and the police force, namely the state, a state with the monopoly on violence. And in order to enforce such rights, they must be more powerful than you and have the permission to commit acts that you yourself cannot. And who does the state serve? Well, even if liberal ideology says that it serves society as a whole, it must by its very nature serve those who fund it. Otherwise, it would not receive the capital that allows it to exist in the first place. And who primarily funds it? The wealthy, in other words, the ruling class. It is their interests that it must represent. It's not a coincidence that some of the most influential human rights declarations were signed in palaces. A fundamental tension immediately begins to emerge here. In order for human rights to exist politically, there must be someone vastly more powerful than you giving you those rights in the first place. Human rights, which are supposed to make everyone equal, paradoxically depend on a fundamental power imbalance between groups with competing interests. And if someone more powerful than you is giving you your rights, then they can also take them away. But if this is the case, why would the state grant us rights at all? Here, Nietzsche's conception of rights and the genealogy of morals is very helpful. He writes, "My rights are the part of my power, which others have not merely conceded me, but which they wish me to preserve. How do these others arrive at that? First, through their prudence and fear and caution, whether in that they expect something similar from us in return, or in that they consider that a struggle with us would be perilous or to no purpose." So, say the working class is financially and politically impoverished. Tired of the situation, they organize together in the militant labor movement and threaten to overthrow the state. The state then recognizes the working class as powerful enough to pose a threat, and because they recognize this power, they decide to implement certain labor rights. These rights are not implemented because the state is benevolent or because it's enacting some eternal moral law. Rather, they are implementing these rights as a compromise between two competing powerful groups in the hope that this will appease the other party. That is how rights originate, recognize and guarantee degrees of power. This way of looking at rights is more embedded in social and material reality. It helps us see how they emerge not as impartial eternal laws, but as the historical outcomes of struggle. Nietzsche continues, "If power relationships undergo any material alteration, rights disappear and new ones are created, as is demonstrated in the continual disappearance and reformation."
Is cuck philosophy a Marxist? And also a historical materialist, it sounds like. Not sure, but kind of sounds like it. Throughout watching this video, I haven't watched cuck philosophy. Who's the second voice? I have no clue.
Of rights between nations. If our power is materially diminished, the feeling of those who have hitherto...
Little did you know, Pump, is that's actually an audio clip that got clipped from Twitch of Friedrich Nietzsche talking. Back in, whenever he was alive, I don't know, that's hundreds of years ago.
Who guarantee our rights changes. They consider whether they can restore us to the full possession we formerly enjoyed. If they feel unable to do so, they henceforth deny our rights. So, to continue my example, if the working class ends up growing weaker, the state that previously granted it additional rights no longer sees them as necessary and take them away. Kind of like what happened in the emergence of neoliberalism in the 80s with Reagan and Thatcher. The elimination of previously won labor rights corresponded to a rapid weakening of the labor movement. In other words, the very existence of human rights presupposes the existence of a power struggle of competing groups, with the more powerful one granting rights to the weaker one. As the journal Gegenstandpunkt writes, man has the right to be the servant of a master that attends to him. That is the miserable substance of the great Enlightenment notion of the natural human right. It's no wonder that the first two countries to declare human rights, the United States and France, were also some of the last countries to abolish slavery. This power dynamic that we see between classes also exists between countries. Take the so-called right of humanitarian intervention, something with no historical precedent, which states that one nation can invade another for the purpose of stopping human rights violations. Who enforces the right of humanitarian intervention? Well, again, those who have the power to do so, the militarily and economically powerful. This creates a situation in which the powerful can use humanitarian intervention as a pretext to invade, destabilize, and exploit other countries, like what the US did with Yugoslavia, Libya, Syria, etc., while themselves not being accountable to anyone for their own human rights violations. Let me be clear here. I'm not saying that all these problems will be fixed if we simply stop adhering to the doctrine of human rights. Human rights are an outcome, a symptom of a specific social and political configuration, and you don't fight the symptom, you fight the disease. If we recognize the problem with human rights, it is the social and political configuration that produces them that we have to change. So long as we live under capitalism and the liberal political paradigm, rights are absolutely necessary. But if we limit our struggles to begging for the state to grant us rights, we will never address the more fundamental problem that human rights are a response to, the fundamental social and political imbalances that constitutes our society, the split between civil society and the political state, which is inseparable from the split between economic classes. We can begin to see at this point that human rights and the divine right of kings are actually very similar in significant respects. Both are utilized by a minority of the population, the ruling class, to justify its rule by appealing to something independent of society, some metaphysical or moral law. Compare, sure, there are vast power imbalances between us, but we're all subjects of God, and we, the kings, are merely carrying out his will.
And sure, there are vast power imbalances between us, but we're all bearers of rights, and we, the state, are merely enforcing those rights. In other words, the ideology of human rights, like the ideology of the divine right of kings, tries to naturalize a historically contingent political situation, portraying it as something necessary. It involves an essential contradiction. It declares human rights to be something that exists independently of states, even though such human rights inherently presuppose the existence of a state. So, what would need to be done in order to establish a society that no longer produces or depends on the ideology of human rights? It would have to be a society in which the significance of community has been restored. A society where collective decision-making is not confined to the state, but characterizes society as a whole, starting from the local level. A society where production is not the affair of private individuals pursuing their self-interest, but a socially planned process. It is only when people reclaim power over their own lives and their own activities that they no longer need a state to grant them rights, because their powers would no longer be alienated by a state in the first place. When decision-making is no longer the task of a select minority of state functionaries and becomes the task of everyone concerned, only then can freedom be realized. Not the abstract sham freedom of the atomized individual, but the real freedom that can only be realized through association with others. Such a society would have done away with the distinction between civil society and the political state, between the individual human and the abstract citizen. As usual, no one puts it as beautifully as Marx.
Only when the real individual man reabsorbs in himself the abstract citizen,
He's
and as an
definitely a Marxist.
individual human being has become a species being in everyday life, in his particular work and his particular situation, only when man has recognized and organized his own powers as social powers and, consequently, no longer separates social power from himself in the shape of political power, only then will human emancipation have been accomplished.
Such a society may be as hard for us to imagine as it would have been for a serf to imagine ours, but it is only when we reject the political dogmas of our times that we can begin to envision emancipation. And now, let me thank my private individuals of civil society collected here only in pursuit of their own self-interest. Apply Quine that doesn't work on 37 Call, a pronounceable name, and of course Computer Scare, Andres Oliva, Chinese with socialist characteristics.
My rocking chair is like just freaky and uncomfortable because I have to like fucking like hunch over while I'm watching the. I need a better desk too. God damn.
Christopher, Clark Fletcher, Dancing Vulture, Desan, Evie Rosk, Edison Hua, Elliot Rosenstock, Ethan Hastings, Ewix, Finlay, Frege Beach, Gary Coulter, Gub Gub Col Col, Hoang Vu, Je sais que tu n'aimes pas prononcer la français, Shuk Slag, Jordan Hoxie, Justin Armijo, Jurgen Lips, Capsi.
This must be his Patreon, huh?
Emancipation. And now, let me thank my private individuals of civil society collected here only in pursuit of their own self-interest. Apply.
Yeah. Alright, good video. Let's see. I might end the stream. Let me check the Discord. The meme? I don't know what it is. I haven't heard the meme. Let's see. Let's watch this ants video and then I think we're gonna end the stream there. Did you send it? Oh yeah, here it is. Alright. Alright, last video.
Buddy. Hey.
Oh
hey,
god, the quality.
You heard about the war hero? Named Z? Runs off with the princess, right? But when they send the guards after him, he just looks at him and boom, they burst into flames.
Z? You talking about Z? Hey, I know the guy. He's a friend of mine. I think your information is just a little...
Z?
Yeah, he's a worker. He used to dig around here.
A worker? That's impossible. A worker can't do anything except work.
Yeah, it's not like we got a choice.
We do have a choice. I mean, look at Z. He decided he wanted something and he went for it.
He's not alone. I used to be a soldier, and I switched places with him.
Wait a second. You're telling me I don't have to be here?
We got a choice?
The authorities don't want you to know about it, but we don't have to work on the tunnel anymore. It's the workers who control the means of production.
Z don't dig?
No,
I don't dig.
wait, no. Oh, well, so is this a meme? This isn't actually. This wasn't actually in the. This isn't actually in it, is it?
What is this, an encounter group? Let's get back to work.
Why?
This guy Z, he's leading a revolution! I'll get back to you.
Wait, no, is that actually in the movie? Oh, I might never. Oh, I remember Bug's Life. I don't remember if I ever saw Ants. I probably did, but I don't remember. Hey, interesting thing, the far right is now just doing straight up. I'm so confused. No Nut November. I'm super confused. Yeah, no, I know that's No Nut November. Like, I don't get what you mean. Like, what do you mean? Hold on. Give me a second. I gotta listen to it first. I don't remember how he says it.
Number 15, Burger King foot lettuce.
Number 15, Burger King foot lettuce. Alright, there you go. Hope you're happy.
Buddy. Hey, buddy.
Oop. Here's up Coomer? What the fuck? Who is that? That one. Oh, it's PJW. What the fuck? I don't wanna.
Buddy. Hey, buddy.
Oof. Wow. I think I'm gonna end the stream here unless anyone has anything else they want to me to watch. Alright. Don't think we have anything else, but thank you all for coming in. If you haven't dropped a like, please drop a like. If you aren't subbed, please subscribe and turn on post notifications. No, we're not listening to the Rainbow Road song because I don't want to get copyright claimed. Or struck. If you could share up the channel, that'd be very much appreciated. We're pretty close to 200 subs now. Never would have saw that coming. I remember literally, how long ago? Probably like what, 8 months ago? I probably had like 20 subscribers. It's been a journey, you know. Can you watch me sleep tonight, Lemon? Yo, I will be there. I will be watching. Alright, I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace. I'll be in the Discord if any of you want to talk.